Congrats on getting beyond $1 million. What got you here won't always get you there. This is a podcast for entrepreneurs who want to reach beyond their 7-figure business and scale to 8, 9, and even 10 figures. I'm Brad Weimert, and as the founder of EasyPay Direct, I have had the privilege to work with more than 30,000 businesses, allowing me to see the data behind what some of the most successful companies on the planet are doing differently. Join me each week as I dig in with experts in sales, marketing, operations, technology, and wealth building. And you'll learn some of the specific tools, tactics, and strategies that are working today in those multi-million, 8, 9, and 10-figure businesses. Life can get exciting beyond $1 million.
One of the best pieces of advice that comes from that was, it was probably both of them. Tom Kulzer, who founded Aweber, and Clate Infusionsoft. I think both of them told me this, that don't ever raise money unless you know exactly how you're going to use it. And if you're going to raise money, raise more than you need.
Today on Beyond $1 Million, I am talking with Brian Moran, the founder of Samcart. If you don't know, Samcart is a shopping cart that helps you optimize your checkout process. EasyPay Direct is integrated directly, and I've known Brian for years. He is an absolute beast with sales and marketing. In fact, I think Samcart stands for Sales and Marketing Cart. We talk about tons of stuff, from bootstrapping the company all the way up to the point of accepting money and why he did it, to raising an $82 million Series B and what the path and what business looks like after you do something like that. Tons of good takeaways in this episode. You will love it. Let's dig in. Brian Moran, I'm super pumped to have you, dude. We've been trying to connect and talk for quite a while, and I finally got you. Not in-house, but I can at least see you right now.
I'll be in there soon. I know our schedules just are like opposite ends of the spectrum.
I know it. Well, we've known each other for many years, and I think really we met at the beginning of Samcart. But why don't, for those that don't know, why don't you give a little backdrop on what Samcart is today, and then back out and we'll talk kind of how you got there. Because like today, it's very different than it was initially. But I think it's worth starting with kind of the concept of it, and then we can talk about your story.
Yeah. So Samcart's basically a billing platform for the market that we serve and go after. Primarily is creators. So anyone who, they have digital products, services, coaches. We still have a bunch of physical products. The nice thing about the word creator might not be the best from the marketing standpoint when you want to call someone out specifically, but it encompasses a lot of people. So we actually kind of struggled with our identity as a business for a while, thinking we'd be kind of an all-in-one e-commerce platform that has everything from billing to landing pages to email to SMS all under one roof. It is not what we are right now, and it's not where we're heading. Our bread and butter from the very beginning was always giving people the ability to create a super optimized checkout flow to sell really any type of product that they want. So things like, being able to split test what price your product is, being able to boost average order value with order bumps, add-ons, upsells, downsells, being able to sell any type of billing structure. So one-time payment, pay what you want, limited subscriptions, recurring subscriptions, obviously, and kind of anything in between. And so we basically tie into whatever most people, at least if we take like the digital product space, they have a course or a coaching program and they're using Kajabi, Teachable, Thinkific, any of the WordPress plugins that are out there. We don't try to get people to leave those. We just try to get them to use our platform to accept orders, and we integrate with all those other platforms. So you buy through us, the customer automatically gets all their content in whatever LMS or course platform that they're using. And they use us because they'll just straight up make more money. They'll increase their cart conversion rate, really their sales conversion rate. So it drives your cost to acquire a customer down, allows you to spend more to go get them because we drive up average order value. A whole kind of billing, tracking, analytics platform behind the scenes that tells you where your customers came from, who your most valuable customers are. It's meant for someone who's doing probably at least 5K a month. We have a lot of folks doing less than that they're kind of aspiring and they're on their way building up. But our sweet spot is really somebody doing at least full-time revenue. So like 5-10 grand a month, all the way up to, we have a couple folks doing 100 million a year on the platform now. but
Love
our
it.
bread and butter is just kind of the billing side, being able to efficiently accept payments, accept an order anywhere your customers are. You can take Samcart now and embed it wherever people are, embed it onto a sales page, a blog sidebar, link really quick off social or email. Just trying to give people, more efficient ways to make a sale.
So this is great because I'm I'm going to force a huge open loop because this is new. This is not how Samcart started, right? To talk about being to reference yourself as a billing platform. I don't think I ever would have heard that out of your mouth 5 years ago. But Samcart still existed. And we're EasyPay Direct is integrated to Samcart, so we know the platform. But the transformation of the platform has been pretty significant in the last several years. Before we get to why that happened, how did Samcart start? And actually, was Samcart your first journey, or were you doing something before that?
Yeah, no, it started. So we launched Samcart in 2014. I got started right out of college, graduated in 2009. Had a terrible job working for the government, like everybody here. I'm in the DC, Maryland area, so everyone here either works for or with the government in some capacity. You take a motivated 22-year-old kid and you slap him in a government building with no phone, no internet, no laptop, no communication with the outside world, and even making great money out of school. I felt rich, but was just absolutely miserable at that job. So I did what, most entrepreneurs do at some point. You start down that journey and try to figure out, hey, how can I make money outside of this full-time job? What business could I start? And I kind of stumbled into this digital product space. I found a couple experts from back in the day who had a course about, how they had built their digital product business, and bought that course. And that was really the end. I fell in love with this idea of, look, I can take knowledge that's in my head, turn it into an ebook or a video or some kind of program that I can sell. This product I spent, a couple days creating one time, and I can sell it forever. So I fell in love with that idea. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. It didn't succeed right away. The first business that I started, it was a website called trainbaseball.com. So for those that don't know me, I'm a huge baseball guy. I'm wearing an O's hat right now. Played all through high school, played in college, was a first team All-American, thought I was going to go pro. That didn't work out the way that I had drawn it up, but still loved the game and knew a lot about it. So created a couple ebooks and video courses about how to, that a mom or dad or a coach could buy and give to their, son or daughter to make them a better ball player. And so I started this little blog, figured out, everything we need to know as kind of digital marketers, and didn't make any money, I think, for like 14 months. Was living in a basement apartment with my new wife at the time, trying to figure out, look, I need to quit this damn job and I want to make a lot of money and, give her a life that, she couldn't dream of, be able to, control my own destiny, all the things that we all want as entrepreneurs. And luckily, like a year and a half in, I started making a little bit of money. I ended up kind of pissing off this big player in the market, this guy, Paul Reddick, who's now one of my closest friends, been a mentor for a long, long time. This is maybe a story for today, maybe another day, but I pissed this guy off so bad. We had this all out fight, ended up making up. He kind of took me under his wing and mentored me through kind of that next phase of my journey, which ended up becoming a second site, a second entirely new business, same business model of selling courses, but it was to entrepreneurs, and I was going to teach them how I was using Facebook marketing to grow the baseball site. So
interesting.
Facebook
Okay.
at the time.
So,
yeah.
Let's pause there for a second. So what was the first course?
The first product was technically not a course. It was an ebook. It was called the 10-Step Hitting System. Tried to sell it for $27. That was the main product from the, back in the day.
And how'd you piss off Paul?
I copied one of his squeeze pages. So I found one of the pages he was driving a lot of Google ads to. Didn't copy it word for word, although me and him still have fights about this today. But I modeled it, and he didn't appreciate that very much.
Got it. So the concept for that business model was, were you running ads at that time, or were you just was it an SEO play to try to get traffic and then sell an ebook on the back end of it?
Very early days was SEO, try to get traffic. Eventually figured out what Facebook ads were. They were like brand new at the time. So I dabbled in it without a whole lot of success. Facebook is then what later on, that was the traffic source that I dialed in and figured out. But early on was trying a little bit of everything without a whole lot of success.
And you weren't making money selling that product. So you then shifted to create a course on how to run Facebook ads on a different site and sold there. Did you, when you did that, and I'm asking because there are lots of people that do this both ways. Did you feel like you had dialed the Facebook ads when you created that course?
Yeah. So little tweak to that story. The baseball site I got it to finally start selling. So I got it up to $3 or $4 grand a month using organic and Facebook ads, built up the fan page to about 10,000 people. So I was kind of up and coming in the baseball world, which is when I met Paul. I drove up to Jersey, hung out with him, showed him what I was doing with Facebook. He's more of an old school guy who was all SEO, AdWords, so he knew nothing about how to use Facebook for his business yet. And when I showed him what I was doing, his immediate advice was, you need to teach other people this because it's such a hot topic right now. Now, I don't know if he did that to help me. I mean, it did help, or to get me out of his niche, but he did both at the same time. So I kept the baseball business going and created a new course about not how I was using Facebook ads, because I wasn't really an expert yet. It was how I got 10,000 fans on that fan page and started using those fans to sell products. That's kind of the other version of that story.
Got it. Okay. So never did that evolve into Facebook ads, or did I hear that wrong? Was the course was always building a fan page to?
The initial course was, how to get fans, how to build up a fan page. During this whole process, that like 6 or 9 months of building kind of both businesses, I got really good at Facebook ads, both on the baseball side and it was get10000fans.com was the name of that brand. Which is how I met like everybody in this space. Was kind of this like up and coming Facebook guy that I think, because I like niched way down and there wasn't somebody, this was back in 2010. So you had the Ryan Dice, Evan Pagan, Jeff Walker, even like the Amy Porterfields, James Wedmore, Lewis Howes were all up and coming, and they all had their little niche. And I didn't even do this on purpose, but I sort of became like the Facebook guy who, knew how to use this platform to build an audience, sell products, run ads, all that stuff.
Yeah, I remember that. Now that you're saying it, I only associate you with Samcart now, but I remember that in that moment. That's hilarious. So what was the transition? So you did that and you were in the course community and teaching people stuff. There's a big jump from that to software, which is the devil, but also kind of awesome.
Yep. Yeah, so we ran Get 10,000 Fans. That one scaled up really quick. We were right place, right time. Everybody wanted to know about that topic. So we did $1 million that first year. Still living in an apartment with my wife at the time. And I still hadn't even quit my job at the time because I was so scared that none of this was real, that it wasn't going to last. So I stayed there for a while. We ran Get 10,000 Fans. I think we got it up to like $2.5-3 million a year. By the time 2013 rolled around, in 2013, a couple things happened. We sort of hit a wall revenue wise. Like I didn't want to do the traditional kind of coach model where I was going to start a mastermind or a coaching program. I liked kind of the no stress environment that just having a bunch of courses gave you. So we were just kind of sitting steady at $2.5 million a year, really good profit margins. Probably I shouldn't have stayed there, but somebody probably should have offered me that option of, look, you could just sit on this thing and have no employees and do your thing for a while. But I got bored. I mean, that's kind of my curse is I was bored. I wanted the next mountain to climb. I really wanted to get recurring revenue as part of my business. So software was where I was seeing a bunch of buddies. Clay Collins at Lead Pages at the time kind of came out of nowhere and built Lead Pages into the behemoth it was in the first 2 years. And so I thought, okay, like I want to go down this software route. I'm not a coder, but I think I know what good software is. And I really appreciate good software. So I'm going to figure out how to do this. Our first step was we actually went and white labeled a Facebook marketing related software. At the time, you could like build a website inside of a fan page. They had this thing called a custom tab where you could like put a landing page in your actual fan page, and there were tools that let you do that. So we found somebody that actually ended up being kind of right down the street who had a really big one, and we white labeled it, did a promo, generated like $50K a month in recurring revenue. That just lasted for quite a while. And it was that taste of what recurring revenue, when you offer a good piece of software, how that can change a business, that I thought this has got to be the full-time thing. We got to figure out what tool could we create that our already established audience of 500,000 followers who are mostly digital content sellers, everyone who had bought from that Get 10,000 Fans audience. I just kind of looked at, hey, what are they using? What tool am I using that sucks that I can make better? And the worst tools of the time were the shopping cart. Like, they were all terrible. You were either stitching together an Infusionsoft account or using something dumb like PayPal that's costing you money. And so that was when the original idea in 2013 was, look, we're going to build a shopping cart, and it's going to be kind of for ourselves first, for our audience second, and we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah. I think that there's a recurring theme amongst seasoned entrepreneurs, which is, I probably should have assessed the business models early on and made a choice based on the things that I want to get out of the business. And people very often don't see it, and they just kind of build the thing that was introduced to them, right? And it's like they have an itch and they just start going and iterating. But it is, some of the smarter people I know now have made deliberate choices around, I want a cash flow business, or I want a low stress business, or I'm swinging, right? I want to grow. And a lot of people go the growth route just because of ego or, FOMO or social, it's like, but I think it's worth evaluating those things. And one of the things that you said that I think is awesome is you wanted to do the courses, but you didn't want to do the high ticket back end because it came with stress. And, we serve that community so heavily. We get to see that, but the model is basically always the same, which is nobody does just courses. Everybody does the course to event to mastermind model, right? And they lean on the high ticket to monetize, to convert the whole thing. Right. If you can spend a bunch to acquire a customer, the whole model works. Right. But if you don't have a high ticket offer, they can't get it to work. So I guess one of the questions that I want to ask before we get into the Samcart stuff is, when you were doing that, if you were to do that today, do info products today, do you think you could still get that model to work with Facebook ads as they are now versus what they were then?
Yes.
Without a high ticket?
Without a high ticket, yeah. And one, I say that out of straight ego. I mean, I'm in my own head, I'm the best marketer that's ever lived. So there's no challenge that scares me. I know for a fact I could make it work. I mean, we have a branch off brand for Samcart called Creator U that is that model. Now we have the benefit of our whole back end is trying to get people to use Creator U Plus, which is a SaaS platform, Samcart SaaS platform, Dropdeck that we just acquired, SaaS platform. So we have 3 recurring revenue tools that we can get everybody on that is effectively more profitable than, and way less work than, a mastermind would be. But we got it to work back in the day, partly because Facebook ads were $1 a click. It was, I'd spend $1,000 a day and make $4. So I didn't have to do the coaching program, and $2.5 million a year at $1 million profit was like, I don't need an extra $500,000 a year to work another 2,000 hours a year. So we deliberately said, no, I don't need to. Like, we're good enough. We've made it work the way it is. I think today, yes, you could do it. It would be, you would basically replace the high ticket backend with just a really solid email, SMS follow-up campaign to customers, offering them other things. I would just have more expensive courses. I'd find a way to have recurring that's low lift, whether it's like a SaaS platform or white labeling somebody else's. There's plenty of ways to make more from your customers than just having a big Slack adjuster 5, 10, 20, 50K offer.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a good paradigm shift for people. And I think the other is you mentioned a few different options to increase, the LTV, the lifetime value of the customer on the back end. One of the things that is worth considering if you're thinking about that is should it be your own product, or is it okay for it to be an affiliate offer, right? Or you also mentioned white labeling, which is sort of in the middle there somewhere.
Yep.
But those are all great options if you could get your core offer together enough where you have the bandwidth to focus on something like that.
Yeah, I mean, any of those options are good. I would, we white labeled that original SaaS just out of, the need for speed. So we weren't going to rebuild a tool like that in less than probably 6 to 9 months at least. And I wanted to make money that day. So it was a lot easier to go find a good deal. And the nice thing about, people in our space, like we know how to make customers appear out of nowhere in big numbers. So when you go to a product owner, most SaaS companies don't believe you when you walk in there and you say, hey, I can send 4 emails to this thing and get you 5,000 customers tomorrow. What is that worth to you? Like, I'm not going to take your normal deal where it's 50-50. Like, I want a bigger cut. Like, you have big negotiating power because all of us have these massive audiences that, we can make customers appear out of thin air pretty quick. And so we were able to leverage that in those early days. And, looking back, some of those deals, I think that original white label, like we kept 80% of that revenue. And this was an established SaaS brand who had raised money. And they were like, look, if you can move the amount of people you move, you can keep damn near all of it. It doesn't cost us anything it's basically customer support is like their only actual cost. So yeah, I'm not opposed to anything. In the end, I want to own my whole product suite, like ideally. But you're not going to do that overnight.
Yeah. Did you have that insight and desire when you white labeled? Did you think from the beginning, hey, ultimately I want to rebuild this myself?
You know what? That one, I don't remember ever thinking that. I think the deal was so good and I was in pure lifestyle business mode. So look, they're going to do everything. All I got to do is push people to an order page. They're going to take care of them. They're going to deal with bugs. I don't know the first thing about hiring a developer. I know it ain't going to happen overnight. So I think the deal was so good in that scenario that I just said, look, I'll milk this thing as long as we can.
I think that's another one of those important distinctions with if you have to think about, what your driver really was. And in your head, what you said actually a couple minutes ago was, I wanted recurring revenue. And then you also said, I wanted a software platform, but it was really the recurring revenue that drove you towards software, right?
Yep.
So at what point did you switch?
I guess it was maybe a year after that, was end of 2013, when we said, look, we have a little bit of a war chest. So now we can actually take a risk. And I want to build something big. And SaaS to me was the way we were going to do it. Whether it was because it was going to let us raise money someday or, just the recurring revenue side, that's something that we can sell. I didn't see a path to selling the previous business because I was the face. And so we sat down and said, what could we build? Kind of evaluated all the tools that we use and our customers use, decided on the shopping cart space was where we were going to go attack. And, we didn't, if we were going to make this kind of our sole focus, it wasn't going to be white labeling something. We were going to figure out how do we build something? Who do we need to go find and hire and try to make this the next business?
So as a non-developer, building software is difficult. I ask me how I know. How did that happen? What was your swing? How did you approach trying to build a software company with no experience? And I'm going to ask you the other side of this in a moment, but that part in and of itself is super relevant because you look at the opportunities in software for any vertical right now, and whatever your business is, the opportunity to increase LTV of your client base with some sort of software is probably there.
Yep.
The barrier is figuring out how the fuck to build software.
Yep.
So how did you approach that in the beginning?
Yeah. The one thing I knew, there were a couple options. We could go to Upwork or wherever and try to outsource it and find someone overseas. I didn't want, if I could, in a perfect world, if I could have it anywhere I wanted a human being or two in the office with me. Ideally, someone super smart that isn't super cheap, that's going to do this the right way. And it's going to be someone I can be kind of right next to him as we build it. So I just started asking around and doing, research online, trying to figure out, hey, like where can I find someone that does this? I got very lucky. And two of my best friends from college, my roommates from college, one of the guys who lived down the hall from them, who was in their frat, who I hung out with a lot because he was in the same hall with us. I was telling them about this new idea, and they both said, like, hey, have you talked to Justin? And Justin is Justin Smith, who's now our CEO at Samcart. They were like, have you talked to Justin about this? And my initial response was, why the hell should I talk to Justin? He was a political science major. Like, is he a coder now? Like, how did that happen? And he was a coder now. Not only a coder, but he had his own startup that I think he had just sold off. Not like a huge exit. That's kind of a small app that he had built kind of for a government client in our area. So I checked out the tool he had built. It looked beautiful. It looked like, super clean, simple, like easily something that I could sell. And I hit up Justin and basically gave him my pitch that, look, let's do this. I have this big idea for Samcart, but that's probably a big project, and I don't think you probably trust me yet. I have a couple other little mini app ideas that are Facebook marketing related for our Get 10,000 Fans brand. If you here's how many of these things I could probably sell. If you give me something to sell, here's how our normal promos do. He didn't believe me. So I said, look, how long would it take you to build? I think our first little app idea was, there were two. One was called the Facebook keyword tool. So if anyone remembers Facebook ads pre-2012, there was no keyword targeting at all. You had to go search Facebook for keywords like dog groomer. And so he built on top of their API. It might still be live somewhere. It was fbkeywordtool.com. You could go in to type in baseball, and it gave you all the keywords: baseball mom, baseball dad, MLB, whatever. And I think we sold it for $19. I gave him half the profit. We did he built it in 3 weeks. We did a promo, did $200,000 in yearly recurring revenue. And I stroked him a check for, it was 50 or $100,000. That for him was okay, this guy's for real. He can sell basically anything I give him. So let's now talk about this big project, Samcart, and building a whole e-com platform that's obviously a lot bigger lift than a Facebook scraper, essentially.
Crazy. So this was 2014?
That was 2013.
2013. And I know, so what was that? So that was pre-Samcart?
Yep.
Got it. So then you did a couple of these iterations and convinced him to jump in on the Samcart bandwagon, yes?
Yep. Yeah. He got to make great money from these little 3-week projects, building these stupid little apps, highly valuable, but essentially dumb little apps. And so that's all I needed to convince him to then commit to 6 to 12 months working with me, building out this big e-commerce platform, shopping cart, thing that was in my head.
Got it. Okay, so bootstrapped. No money has been raised, right?
Yep.
I know now, I just saw before we got on here that you just closed your Series B for $82 million. So you raised your Series B at $82 million. Would you, if you were to start a software company again today, would you go the VC route or the bootstrap route?
If I had to, so me personally, at my current financial status and track record with our current investors, I would probably immediately go to raise money, because we have so many connections now and we've proven ourselves to be a good investment that I could go have somebody else fund the whole thing. Now, I would be able to do it myself. I'd probably have to think about it, but I would, off the cuff, I'd probably say, I'm going to go raise money this time so I can go super fast with someone else's money, because I know there's going to be checks everywhere, because once you go down that route, if you prove yourself and you've made money for other investors, it's usually very, very easy to go get, somebody else to trust you, or you go right back to the same guys.
If you were going back to 2014 at the beginning of Samcart, when you didn't have those connections and resources,
I would not raise money. No. no, I would have blown it. Like we didn't raise money for 5 years. We bootstrapped for 5 years. Those years were, one, the most fun in my life, two, the most stressful in my life. I sat in this exact office, it might have been 2017, with $1,000 left in the bank account and a $40,000 payroll happening the next morning at 9 a.m. And we found a way to make it work. Like those were any of the gray hairs coming in. It's from then. It's probably not from these days. But you learn. I learned more than I could have ever imagined learning. Like I don't regret any of those years. What I do know is if you gave me $5 million, $10 million more back then, I don't even know if I would have spent it. I hopefully would have been too scared to spend it because we didn't have a model yet. Like there was no, we couldn't pay to acquire customers yet. We hadn't figured out paid advertising. I knew nothing about running a team. Justin, who's now CEO, he was not here. It's another crazy story. Him and Zach Moore, who's he's our original developer with Justin. They're best buds. They're like two of our sharpest guys here. They built the first version of Samcart as private contractors in 2014. And they both then left. They went on to other projects. We just had this finite, like, build us this thing. Hopefully we can keep you guys around. But Justin got a crazy offer from a big publicly traded company in New York. So he went off for 5-6 years. Zach went off for 5 or 6 years. So it's just me and Scott with this great product to sell, but no team. And the team was chaos for 5 years because I know nothing about, not that I know nothing about it. I just have no interest in managing, delegating, any of that stuff. I can get the crowd excited and motivate employees, but then after that speech is done, I'm like, leave me alone. I need to go work. And that's not a good way to lead a team. So if you gave me all that money back then, I would have been an idiot and dumped it into an ad campaign that didn't work, or hired people that didn't have a leader or a manager, or I just would have held on to it. Hopefully I would have held on to it and done nothing. And I just would have gotten yelled at by the investors who want you to put their money to work. One of the best pieces of advice that comes from that was, it was probably both of them. Tom Kulzer, who founded Aweber, and what's the, is it Clate Mask, Infusionsoft?
Yes.
I think both of them told me this, that like, don't ever raise money unless you know exactly how you're going to use it. And if you're going to raise money, raise more than you need. And back then I wouldn't have known how to use it. Like today we know all our numbers. I know how much return I'm going to get if I put it into an ad campaign. I have leaders and leaders of leaders. So there's like a whole org structure where you can hire people that are going to be held accountable and do their job and know what to do. Back then, none of that shit existed.
Did you figure that out through the bootstrapped era or once you had raised the first round?
Probably both. I think more through the bootstrapped era. Like they were telling me those things and they're like, look, what would you do with this? And I'm like, not sure. They're like, then don't do it. Like bootstrap your way. I got Justin back in. We got Zach back in. So we had the ability to we finally were able to get past 10 employees without this place caving in on itself. And then I just made it my mission to turn the business into a math equation. Because before that, it was just, hopefully we get customers. We can send a couple emails every once in a while and get some customers. That's not sustainable. We need a way to get customers that's dependable and repeatable. And so I made that my mission in 2018 and we figured it out. And that was like when the light bulb went off. That was holy. Like I have an exact campaign that I'm running every ad through. It prints customers. And if I had a bunch more money, I could go negative on the front end and blow this damn thing up. And that was when I became crystal clear that this is why I would raise money. Like now I get it. And I have Justin to lead the company so we can scale up people. Up until that point, late 2018, I was adamant that I would never raise money. Never in a million years. I didn't want anyone to have control. I was terrified because I didn't know what it meant to have a board or any of these things. And I just had no interest. Luckily, by the time 2019 rolled around, I personally, financially, was in a very stress-free place. So the thought of raising money and this thing not working out and an investor being an asshole and like taking over the business and causing it to stall and the whole thing just being a waste, I wasn't that scared of it. Like, I'm an entrepreneur, I'll just start something else. And on the flip side, I saw the path that if you fuel this thing, if we just had an extra couple $1,000,000, like, we will double. Like, I can draw the math equation out. Like, that's what's going to happen. And those two things combined were what finally got me to overcome that whole fear, skepticism side of my brain that kept me from raising money from the beginning.
It's insightful, man. I think that I know that there are a lot of people that live on both sides of that line. What was the business model in those bootstrapped years, in the 5 years? What was the product? What was the business model? And we'll fast forward to today in a minute here, because as I look at the product today, it is different than what I saw initially. What was in your head at the time, and what were you trying to build, and where'd you land with it before you raised?
Yeah. So 2016 was really like our big coming out party. I guess 2015 we released it just to our list. We had the first version of Samcart, which essentially still similar to what it is today. It was a shopping cart. You could go in, pick from a library of checkout page templates. We were just a checkout page that you could add multiple products to increase average order value, add upsells to increase average order value, and a reporting system that gave you insight into everything that's happening, and connections to all the other tools so that you could accept an order and then deliver a course in Kajabi, or fire off a Zap to alert, somebody through Slack, or whatever you needed to do. That's what it was at its core. And so 2015, we had that. The business model was do a launch to our list, like just tell our whole audience about it. We had 200,000 people on an email list, 40,000 customers from the Get 10,000 Fans brand, hundreds of thousands of social media fans, and relationships that I had built with Amy Porterfield, Jeff Walker, Ryan Dice. I mean, all the big kind of influencer experts in this space, and all their customers needed this. So the business model from 2014 to 2018 was essentially hit my list up with this every so often, try to figure out ads. We never did. We would still, ads still brought in some customers, but not, we were probably spending like $500 a day just because it didn't make sense to go any higher. And then it wasn't a huge chunk of sales, but affiliate partnerships and relationships was a big one. With word of mouth also, that was probably bigger than affiliate marketing, which was nice getting into software. Like, people share good tools. So when we did a big launch in 2016, we, fortunately had, for any of you who've done like big Walker style launches with like affiliate leaderboards, our leaderboard was Amy Porterfield, James Wedmore, Todd Brown, Todd Herman, Jeff Walker, a bunch of other folks. So those relationships were huge. That launch like put us on the map in an even bigger way than we already were. And we got a bunch of huge customers. Mike Dillard switched over. Darren Hardy switched over. We had heavy hitters using the platform, processing hundreds of millions of dollars a year. This is before we realized you can make money from payment processing, by the way. So it was from that point, 2016 to 2019, it was no ads. It was kind of flat-ish growth. Like, we didn't really have a way to go get a bunch. We'd try to do a launch every so often and get affiliates to promote, but they don't want to promote the same thing all the time. Our list was kind of sick of hearing about it. It was just kind of steady word of mouth. So we were kind of flat at 4 or 5 million in revenue for probably 2.5 years, just because we didn't have a model. We didn't have, a dependable way to go get customers at scale.
Yeah. So you didn't have kind of a predictable selling system, predictable acquisition model.
Yep.
Would you have done that bootstrap version different to do it over?
Ooh, that's a good question. I definitely would have. I would have figured out ads faster. I think I just got lazy, and that's my bread and butter. That's still my full-time job today, is working on kind of the performance marketing side of things, because that's what I love to do. Build ad campaigns, offers, funnels that work. Because it's just such a fun puzzle to figure out for me. I don't know why I didn't do it earlier than I did. because it didn't take me that long to figure out once I decided to try to figure it out. I just would have done that. Would have done that earlier. Just would have, done whatever it took to figure out how to turn ads on and scale them up in a way that doesn't bankrupt the business.
So for those 4 years, was your title CEO? Were you functionally the one running it?
Yep.
What were your responsibilities as the CEO then? And then fast forward to today, what are the responsibilities of your CEO at Samcart today, and how are they different?
Yeah, I mean, I probably shirked all my responsibilities back then. We were in this office, which isn't huge, but everybody was in. It's pre-COVID, so everybody's in basically every day. It was me and 15 other folks, primarily like 25 to 27-year-old guys. So you can imagine what that office was like. We probably played more ping pong and basketball than we did work, or at least they did. I mean, I busted my ass because I had to basically keep the whole thing afloat, me and Scott, which wasn't their fault. It was my fault. I mean, I just didn't do a good job leading them and letting them know, what they need to do. So, I mean, my responsibility was basically, I was the face. I mean, I'm the guy that, when it walks into the office, everybody knows kind of what I say goes, which is good and bad. But there was like no structure. We didn't have weekly meetings with the team. There were no one-on-ones with there were no managers. It was just kind of like a group of 6 guys over in that corner that were the coders. And we just kind of ping back and forth and figure out what the next thing we're going to build without a whole, no real vision at all. I mean, you can imagine anyone who's been a part of a business at that stage, they're probably all very similar. But my role then was, I was the guy that had to move the needle revenue wise. That if there was a launch or a promo coming up, I was going to do basically all of it, write the scripts, film the videos, edit the videos, create the ads, network with affiliates, decide on big features that I know are, 1, important, 2, going to actually be something people will pay for. It was pretty much like every big decision or critical job outside of coding was me. It was my fault. I mean, I put it on me. It sort of needed to be, because I don't know if we had the people we needed then to do those jobs, but is what it is.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think one of the significant unlocks from a leadership perspective is learning how to hire and then onboard and lead. But the hiring component alone is a significant challenge. And for an executor that gets validation through doing, hiring is one of the most boring fucking things ever.
Yeah. Somebody handed me that top grading book. I think I made 2 pages in. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't care enough. I know it's bad, but I don't have time for this. I need to go generate revenue, which is what I'm good at.
So Samcart today, August of 2023, what are the current stats? What's the size of the company, employees, whatever stats you want to share?
150 people, office here, and then our headquarters, the big office is down in Austin, Texas, just north of you. What other stats? 85,000 customers between Samcart, Creator U, and DropDeck. 3 brands, 3 different software tools. In total raised close to $100 million over 3 rounds. What other stats you want?
Where are you on revenue right now?
Revenue getting close to 40 mil.
Awesome. And what is the responsibility of the CEO today? Who, by the way, was the original developer that built the platform, right?
Yep. So Justin was that original developer. He left, he really is a business operational guy. If anyone's ever read, what is the name of that book? Every business needs an integrator and a visionary.
EOS, Traction.
Yeah. That's me and him to a T. He's the integrator. Honestly, like I could rattle off a couple things he does, but you should ask him, because I don't really care to know. And I don't think he cares to know what I do. We just trust each other to do each other's job. I mean, he's the leader of the business. I'm still, I think when I talk at all hands, people know me and Scott are the founders, and they perk up and listen when we talk, and when we say something, it means a lot. As far as to the company, I think I'm the, kind of works with the visionary, that I'm the inspirational one, that I'm the good cop, he's the bad cop, which isn't fair to him all the time. So I have to step in every once in a while and help there, because that, I'm sure, can be stressful. But no, I mean, he knows the ins and outs of every team in this business. He's hired, most of them. He hired the whole leadership team, which, now I guess it's like 10 people. He's responsible for how much money's in the bank, making sure we don't run out of it. He's taken a big lead on relationships with our current investors and potential future ones, runs board meetings, all the stuff that I want to care about, but just can't figure out how to care about it more than I care about running marketing campaigns and putting up numbers.
I love it. So what he does not do is run the marketing campaigns and focus on driving revenue.
Correct. He focuses on driving revenue. He knows where all the revenue comes from. He's been around me long enough to know, on the projects I'm working on, what the big needles are. He likes to pretend to be a marketer every once in a while and critique my copy or ideas. I'm sure I do the same shit to him. But it's an awesome combo between the two of us.
So I make jokes about how brutal it is to build software, because we've got a development team in-house and we stumble through so many things. What are the biggest mistakes that you've made in building a software company? And what is a tip that you would give somebody that wants to go down that path?
Yeah, I think there is one main mistake that still haunts me today, that I still pay for today. Now, I don't know if there's a way to avoid this, honestly, because I didn't have a ton of money back then. But when we first bootstrapped, Justin and Zach, they built a great V1 of this thing. When they left, we brought in a new crew of young guys, like young, not inexperienced, like they knew how to code, but they were junior guys at any SaaS company, and they were put in charge of this one. And I let them rebuild this whole thing. And that spaghetti code from back in the day, that's the base. Imagine any software platform, but an e-commerce platform, that every little piece touches every little piece. And when it's all kind of messy under the hood, you hand it over to a good mechanic a year later and they're like, dude, throw it out. Like, I can't work with this. It haunts you forever. And, I think that's what caused us to move a lot slower than I wanted to in 2019, 2021. We're now finally getting through most of that and are able to move really quick. But you look at the opportunity cost of that. I mean, my God, if I could go back, I would have done whatever it took. I would have mortgaged my house. I would have moved into an apartment if it meant keeping Justin and Zach around, because they built a very sleek, minimalistic platform that could have grown way faster, that we could have built extra features on and probably moved. We could probably have the tool we have today in 2019 if we had done it the right way and not let folks that build things a little bit messier do it that way. And we see that with, now we have two other products. One is Creator U, one is DropDeck. Both were built in the last year with new tech by very, very smart people. And those tools just move. Like, we ship cool stuff every 2 weeks. And Samcart still pays for, those mistakes back in the day. Probably better that Samcart doesn't move super fast, because we are dealing with people's money. And so we got to be extra careful. Like, you can't go down if someone's running a $1 million a day business on there, but still a pain in the ass.
Oh, I'm aware. My question with that is, when you're looking for, basically what I heard is, don't have shitty people build your software. But more specifically, does that take a single senior software developer, or is it an architect that you're looking for, or is it a product manager that you're looking for? What are the components that you think are mission critical now?
That's a good question. I still don't know if I know the answer to that. When we bought DropDeck, Justin flew over to France. This was like 9 months ago. And we were talking to these guys. They had an awesome, unbelievable looking tool. We both had used it. It was incredible. And we were talking about buying them. And when he flew over, he basically asked me, like, look, is there anything you want me to ask these guys? Because I couldn't go. And I just said, look, you evaluate them. Justin is he's technical. He's been a coder. He doesn't code anymore, but he knows what he's doing. He can see good code and, sharp people from a mile away. And I told him, look, I don't even really care about their product. I care about the two guys running it. They were kind of best friends. They built and sold off multiple other apps. So they had a very good track record. One guy is more of a product guy. One guy is more of an actual developer. So it sounded like a very good match. And I just said, look, you evaluate them. I don't even care about their software because like we're going to repurpose it and sell it to a different audience. We're going to change things anyway. But if they're the guys, if you think they're two of the smartest product engineer combos that you've seen, I'll pay anything to get them because it's so rare to find engineers that can think like a business owner, that can get into the mind of the customer and can do it all the right way, like build it clean, scalable, fast. And he came back and said, they're the guys. And that's what they've done over on DropDeck, the way that they've innovated and changed things and improved the platform in a very short period of time. I mean, if I had to describe these two guys, both incredibly bright, super fun, cool dudes, proven track record. The software speaks for itself. You can feel the difference. I mean, you log into a shitty app and you log into a good one. Like even someone like us that can't code, we can tell. Like it's just snappy, it's clean, it's done the right way. Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes down to the right people. I don't like you could give us the world's best engineer and like they can't build something like Samcart or EasyPay Direct all by themselves. Like you need a team of great people, which are great coders that know how to do things the right way, great product people, great leaders. Like it really is kind of a tribe. From the get-go, one or two great people can probably take you a long way. But once you reach, scale, like those two guys aren't going to be able to build DropDeck to $1 billion all by themselves.
Sure. Okay. I know that we're approaching time. My perception, and you articulated this to some extent, but we started with what Samcart is today, and we went through the Bootstrapped iteration, and you mentioned that you were targeting the shopping cart space, and then it kind of transformed into checkout, and you've used both terms, but my perception, certainly through that initial era, was Samcart was a shopping cart. And today, when I look at it, it's distinctly a checkout product. And one of the transformations that I saw was the ability to embed the checkout widget in any location you want. Yeah. So in all these other sites, and one of the things that I saw was like embedding checkout inside of a Notion page, which was interesting. I think that's on your homepage today. Where was the transition and what led you to the conclusion that this was the direction you were supposed to go? Was this a gut feeling, a data-driven thing? Yeah. What was it that made you say, hey, you know what? Not shopping cart, but embedded checkout process?
Yeah, I think one, the terminology is almost more of a marketing decision. That shopping cart isn't really what people say or search for anymore. We used to say for the last couple of years, we'd say e-commerce platform, but then people expect a website builder, email marketing, SMS. They expect a lot more inside of an e-commerce platform. What our bread and butter has always been is what we are today. We got distracted over the last 5 years numerous times, partly because one of the campaigns that I figured out how to really scale, it brought in a lot of beginner, kind of advanced beginner, very small businesses doing a couple grand a month. It brought in a lot of those folks, and a lot of them, like, they don't even know what a split test is. So for us to go super deep in checkout with upsells and split testing and multiple forms of payment, like those things, one, they don't even understand what they are, why they're important, and two, they can't really use them yet. They're not big enough. What those people needed, they needed an all-in-one. So we went and bought a course platform and baked it into Samcart. That took 12 months. We had very simple checkout templates back in the day. We turned that into a drag and drop page builder. That distracted us for 18 months. We did those two things for this influx of very different types of customers than the Amy Porterfields of the world, who they don't need any of that shit. She's going to use Kajabi. She's going to custom build her own course platform. She doesn't use our builder because it's not very good. She's going to custom code something on Webflow or WordPress or straight HTML. So we got distracted building things that weren't our ideal for the ideal customer. Do I regret those things? Sort of. Like, they still did help. Like, we were bringing in thousands of these people, and it did help us get them and keep them. But it just kind of distracted us. We were this shopping cart trying to pretend to be an e-com platform, trying to pretend to be focused on, billing and payments, which is what our VIPs wanted, but we weren't giving them the time of day. It's so it actually, the Series B was really our time to think, look, this is a lot of money. Like, we need to be crystal clear on where we're going. Because, like, we're not going to go spend 85 million bucks without a clear direction. So we decided, look, we don't want to turn away beginners, but a lot of them aren't ready for Samcart yet. So let's create a separate product just for them. And that's what became Creator U, that we scaled from 0 to 80,000 customers in 6 months. That is kind of a coaching platform. There's some software in there. There's little AI tools in there to help them create content. There's a lot of analytics and tracking so they can see their audience grow. You get a creator score. There's a shitload of videos in there. Every course I've ever created is in there for free. It's everything that beginner needs to grow into a Samcart customer. And that allows Samcart to do what we do best, which is build things that make real businesses real money. Increase their checkout conversion rate, allow them to customize it, deploy it wherever they want, drive up average order value, track lifetime value, track ad campaigns, like the nerdy shit that I love, that the Amy Porterfields of the world, the Jeff Walkers of the world, the big supplement brands of the world, people doing 10, 20, 50, $100 million. That's what they want us to do. And it's what I wish we would have done more of along the way. We just, you get distracted like every business owner does, but luckily we've come back to, I think, where we need to be, where our sweet spot is, and really where the money is for the business.
You said that you kind of regret it. How could you have learned those lessons in another way?
Yeah, I mean, someone could have told me, but living it's a lot different than someone telling you. No, I mean, like, my personality style, whether it's good or bad, like, I don't ever really regret much of anything, outside of, like, if I'm a dick to my wife or something. Like, there are obviously scenarios where I really do mess up that I regret, but business decisions where at the moment you have all the information you can get and you make the wrong call, like, so be it. Move on. I don't have time to sit here and dwell. I'm going to learn from every single one of those mistakes, and it's going to pay off later. That was my thought process. I remember talking to my dad before I raised money, and I'm like, this is a big ass decision. Like, there's no turning back. After you give someone a percentage of your company on paper, like, it's over. Like, that's it. And the deciding factor was, one, like, I'm not going to worry right now about regretting it, because even if it goes sour, I'm not the person that regrets things. I will probably learn more, meet more people, doing this than I ever would have gotten at any business school, in any other path. And I always want to have kind of that next challenge, that, put myself in a new environment to learn new things, and right now the owner of the Dodgers and Lakers sits on our board. Like, would I ever have met that guy running at 10,000 fans? Like, no. It's like the types of people we get to meet and the things I get to learn. It's all worth it. So no, I don't regret any of those things. It's a good, they'll help me make better decisions later on. But we also needed those things to happen back then. Like, our business model, the ad campaign that we could dump millions into, those are the people it got. And so we had to deal with what we had. And if it meant pivoting a little bit, yeah, it probably made some folks that I wish we wouldn't have pissed off because we weren't really building things for them. And it probably cost us some of those folks, but it also got us a hell of a lot of other folks. It is what it is. Learn, move on, adjust.
Well, we are, I think, cut from the same cloth on that front. I like to say that I'm good at learning from mistakes once I have personally made them a few times.
Sometimes it is a few times, unfortunately, but yeah.
Well, it's awesome, man. I've got a bunch of other questions about your current build, but we'll take those offline. I'm excited to keep watching Samcart grow and excited to get you into Austin. Where do you want to point people if they want to check things out? I know we've dropped the names of the products, but if they want to find out more about you personally or any of the softwares, where do they go?
Yes, you can go to samcart.com. If you're someone doing $5K a month to $5 million a month, if you're selling definitely digital products, services, coaching, we are right up your alley. Even if you're selling, I think our number one seller right now sells primarily physical products. So we work really for anything. But if you're that kind of business, you're just straight up going to make more money using us than any other tool. There's nobody that focuses on how to drive up your sales conversion or customer value more than we do. So samcart.com's there. Anybody interested in the kind of AI content creation space, check out DropDeck, the new tool we just launched that is kind of an AI document designer. It's super cool. And then if you're in the beginning stages, trying to figure all this stuff out like we did in the early days, check out creatoru.com. It's a new platform we just released.
I dig it. Brian Moran, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Love it, man. Love it. I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I enjoyed doing it. I need your help. There are 3 places you can find Beyond a Million. The podcast itself, beyondamillion.com, which has some cool free resources, including a free course. And we finally launched the Beyond a Million YouTube channel. I would love it if you would go there and subscribe. And if you don't want to, you still would probably enjoy seeing the visual content. Check it out, youtube.com/@Beyond a Million.